Alright everyone, we are back once again with some more Rome 2 on ourselves a 2v2 on Athens. Very interesting map, with the town center being right there. Nice interesting location, no Parthenon yet. But with that, uh, we should get into the army comps. We have a special guest along who hasn't been here for a long time, and I'm glad to have been at least able to get one battle with him. That, of course, is Seleucid over here. This is Mr. Dan himself. He's brought himself a shield bearer general, 1 fixed ballista, 2 median cav, 4 mercenary Syrian archers, 1 silver shield swordsman, and 7 thorax swords. But with that, of course, the other army is me, obviously. I'm glad, because I don't like fighting Dan. But it's 4 noble swords, including a general, 1 fixed ballista, 3 spear horsemen, 4 Dacian heavy bowmen, 2 foxmen, and 4 mercenary axe warriors. Less infantry than I normally bring, but hey, wanted some fast movers. And over here on the defenders, you can see some barricades up, as you can see here. But we have an Egypt brought to us by Aaron Funes 405. Of course, a Bactria brought to us by Bazine. With that, that is the army comps out of the way. Let's get this party started.
And so we come to the enemy's home. We stand before these walls knowing this will be a great victory, and once we have taken the fight to their very hearts, we shall vanquish any defense they have left. Move the tower!
Oh, what a beautiful speech. I do love that move the tower at the end. It works so well. But of course, with this getting started, no wall artillery on that side, the artillery fight is going to get started soon. So we make our way up. Now, Athens on defense, or Athens on medium is very different than Athens on large. Honestly, normally I attack a little further down along here, like this area. I prefer that because you can kind of like snipe with archers here and here. It allows you to get a pretty good breakthrough. Testing for people right now. I don't know where that shot went, I'll be honest with you. I think it went somewhere over here with the initial shot. Yep, there I go. I moved it over there. But, with that, since Dan is attacking this corridor right here, I decided to push for these gates to be more effective. Basically, hopefully to break through here, get in and help Dan out, or him to do the same with me. And of course, putting up front here in case I can push. Here we go. First boys found. Here we go. Some more. Hiding behind those barricades, of course. Of course, the barricades are helpful because they're going to block the enemy. Far more than they're going to block us. Let's see if I got more. I got a few more. There you go. Of course, just blind firing without while guessing is very risky. Don't want to waste that ammo. Of course, cavalry up here to prevent against the sally out. And nobles to be a little bit of a distraction. Dan, of course, is going for a bit of spot in here, but I will say, on Athens, there's a few more things we can do while we're just waiting for things to happen. I actually think this is far more viable on medium than it is on large. This assault over here to push along this. And then across here. Biggest reason is this is at the edge and not in the middle. So if you push a little farther along those lines, if you're lucky and you break through well enough, you can entangle forces onto that hill. And either just ignore them while you push for the town center, or just completely ignore them. There we go. Tower's getting into position. Soon we're going to be able to seize the enemy. Of course, it does bring up a little problem if he can't push his tortoises in once he's got them in position, so he's going to have to move them out of the way. But it should give us a brief little insight onto where everyone is.
Take their heads! Hack them down!
1, 2, and 3.
As you say!
Yep. Normally, I do not like this KT build, I'll be honest with you. Playing it, I absolutely hated it, because I'm used to having, though they are heavy spears, 4 more units of infantry before sending in my nobles, and well, I've got 4 mercenary axes, 2 foxes, and a bunch of nobles. Those foxes are hiding to help protect against the ballista if I notice them. But we are seeing some of the enemy now, popping into view. We got ourselves some carrion up front. Very scary boys. Some beautiful Nubian bowmen. Just out of range, by the way. My artillery range is, I think, no, not even that far. I think it's like that. That line there. And we see the first of the enemy. Some pikemen, right behind them, Thoreo spears. Some Eastern javelin men. Ooh, and we just get that Bactrian Royal Guard. Another pike and another... It looks like a Thoreos. Hold on. Yep, Thoreo spear. So Bactria is doing a pretty heavy hold there. Now, I will say these rules are 1-2-4, as it said in the lobby name, so I'm sure no one ever would break those. Yeah, you see him moving the towers away so he can get his tortoises in. So, of course, we're going to lose vision on all of our boys in a second. Trying to sneak archers into range to try to hit these carrions. They are fading into the mist. So sadly can't shoot at them. But we do discover a unit of pikemen from Egypt.
Get running!
Time to start firing.
Reload!
One down and a decent amount injured. They did disappear and I did waste a rapid fire. I was hoping to get a second volley off before they disappeared because of rapid fire, but was wasted. Let's see what Dan is facing here. Here are those pikes. Carrying axemen on the flank. 1, 2, 3. Thorax. Another carrion coming into view. The Galatian swordsman there. I believe we just started firing artillery at it. Yep, you did. Use a shot. See how it does. Oh, he did destroy the temple, by the way. Completely accidentally. Nice rip through here. Against some thorax here. What else do we got? Some Thoreos. Some Thoreos. Up to 20 kills on his. I'm up to 32. And there's 4. So 4 thorax swords are going to double up on a shield wall. Interesting strategy. While Egypt focuses over at me. I am falling back until ammo is done and we survey the situation. Getting into more of the pikemen, nice. Yeah, those numbers are dropping pretty well. They're down to 145. Another rip right into them. These have been beautiful shots, by the way. Down to 141, 139, nice. 132. Yeah, they're kind of freaking away. Hitting the buildings. They do realize they're in a bit of a bad position to be in. bad shot. Let's see what we got over here. Yeah, it is very much what are we going to do against that? That is our biggest issue initially. Looks like, okay, so 4 Nubian bowmen. His pikemen are pulling a little further back. Thoreo spear, Thoreo spear, Thoreo spear. A thorax. Not too many thorax. That looks like Galatian swords. Okay, Galatian swords there. Carians. Those Carians are being shot. They've already had to destroy one of their barricades to move around. One of the downsides of having to do that. But softening up what I can. It's actually this is actually the reason why I hate carrying axemen as a general, is because of how quickly they die to fire and other things. Just so cheap they don't become useful as a general, and you want your general to be useful. The mercenary axe is moving on in. The assault begins. Stan's trying to figure out what he can do against this thorax. I'm trying to hit them and I can't, which annoys me a little bit. But initially in, mercenary axes against Carians. Same time, this axe warrior is actually going for those Thoreo spears to try to silence them. So these two can get in. Now, bit of a misplay from Egypt. They also did destroy their barricades again. But their Nubians are moving on into melee combat. So those axe warriors are targeting them. However, they are going to get out in time. So they're just going to go and surround these Thoreos and do as much damage as possible. Well, this axe warrior gets into these thorax in the flank. The arrow shots, or artillery shots, still going on in. These two Nubians are now targeting these axes. Luckily, they're gonna not do very well. I hate how the fact that they can still volley fire, despite being in melee combat, but that's what they get for being in square. It's a benefit. Moving these carrying axemen along the flank. This unit of axemen is going to get surrounded here. So they couldn't get the axes in, or spears in. I was trying to get them into the archers and they got caught. But I do charge these guys. See if he's paying attention, because I did get around, but he does pay attention, so. Just turn around to get a cheeky shot in against these thorax. Terrible charge, though. I wish I got a better charge. Very good on Egypt, actually. Very, very responsive. I'm basically doing what I can to let these last mercenary axes have a better chance, hurt them as much as possible. Yep, there we go. Using my axes like I normally do. They are mercenaries, they deserve death. And they do provide me a nice opportunity for the spear horsemen. Not really that way, but to go eat myself around. One carrying gone. Get around those Galatians. As Dan moves in with his thorax, he's going to move in with his Galatians to try to cut me off. Lucky he's guarding with that thorax, but I'm just going to get behind, try to do as much damage. As you can see, disrupt the formation so the thorax can get a few more kills. Just try to inflict as much penalty on these thorax as I can. Because now that they're turned around partially, Dan may be able to get a good shot or two at them. He's able to get a shot at those boys. But it's time for the noble swords to be coming on in. To actually be the real front. For noble swords, I haven't seen anything too elite from Egypt, so I decided I'm going on in. Aiming to break through here. And do what I can. Forcing the Galatian swords away. Sadly, the Spear Horsemen go with not many kills. Hoping to do a little more, but hey. Noble swords in here. Noble swords going in here. First set of noble swords are broken, so get them into here. These noble swords are getting surrounded, but hey, you know what? Handhunt matters. And it's still going to do a lot. Accidentally activated second wind on them. I meant to do battle rhythm. That's my bad. Headhunt here just to quickly break them as much as possible so I can turn boys around and do what I can. So I decided these foxes are going to go this way. Over here, Egypt is being forced to push back with their thorax to go defend this front. Oh, they're still holding here. Also, Spear Horseman moving on in. But we got another Spear Horseman that got on in. There we go. As you can see here, has already killed one Nubian bowman, is going after the other. I did forget about this. Doing what they can to kill. Getting caught up by the most elite unit I've seen from Egypt is the Royal Thorax. But over here, these two units are winning. Spear Horsemen still getting more in, doing what they can against that Nubian bowman. Killing a decent chunk. Over here, this Spear Horseman is rotating around. These Falksmen are about to get right on into these Thorax that are now pulling on out. They're bugging out now that they know they're going to get surrounded, allowing Dan an easy way in. Those Thorax are dropping real fast. These not so much, but these are screwed. With this, Dan's going to be able to get in. And with this, Spear Horseman right back in into the Nubians. But over here, nobles are dropping. Nobles pulling back to hit into this. Didn't want to lose my general immediately, but he's about to die anyways. For whatever reason, they decide to run outside. I hate them so much sometimes. Basically, just trying to harass them with that. Thracian nobles are going around here. He caught up to two with the Thorax and is going to be able to do some real damage to them. As you can see, the general just died here. But, thanks to the general's sacrifice, I was able to get into these Nubian bowmen again. Do what I can to kill. A lot of the boys are getting ready to break. Also got into the carrion here. Poor boys. Falks into Falks into Thorax, so they'll get some pretty good kills initially. And these pikes were being a bit of a pain and did not get fully in. As such, the pikes got torn in. They're going to commit to a charge right on in here. Because fighting head on at that point is just a massacre. As you can see, it is catching up a bunch of troops. A lot of the Falksmen are done. But Dan is making his way on over with some of his thorax. Sadly, one of the Nubians lived. 37 men left. Trying to surround me. Shield bearers, thorax swords, and the silver shields moving that way. He just won his fight over there, and those carrions are about to drop as well. Just going to ignore the pikemen as well. Get right into these thorax swords. He's trying to break through with his royal thorax, but luckily since he turned his pikes, Dan is going to be able to get in, at least partially into the flank. Do some real damage against these pikemen. With this, he did break my general. As well as did break my general, and I'm sending an archer in to go, out of ammo archer to go try to save my boys. But Dan's going to be the real savior here. Silver shields are going to come on in, and they're going to crump real hard. Right into those thorax, and they're going to tear them up. Especially because they're very tired versus inactive. But with that, tearing up the pikemen, the pikes are going to drop. Luckily that noble sword's still alive and healthy. That guy's down to 31 men. They got like 6 kills, so you know what? I'm proud of them. Remaining archers pulling on back. But the silver shield's obviously, yeah. The silver shield's obviously winning. Thorax still getting shot in the back. Fighting some Thoreos, while this unit of Thoreos is fighting off these boys. General versus a noble sword. With this, these guys are going to be able to get through, and as you can see, first one's coming over here. Some arrow fire to help that thorax fight. Now, of course, the enemy has brought 3 pikes, and now he's just completely pike stacking. So Bactria has completely given up his ally. And you know what? It is a pity for Egypt, but he has done an amazing job, to be honest. He beat me down man to man. Like, I will say, without Dan, I would have lost the fight, but I also did commit some forces to help Dan out, so I say we would have killed each other, probably with a victory going slightly to Egypt. Got to give credit where credit is due. One of the 2 big reasons for this video here is Egypt did such a good job. He committed to a fight. And he did a very good job committing to it. Nearly kicked my ass. And I'm getting out of this with less than half strength. It's gonna be less than half strength noble sword, some Dacian heavy bowmen, and a proud ballistic crew. One final headhunt, you know what? Just to make sure I lose as little men as possible. Pump some stats up. Down to 65 men. 64. He used to use the whip as well, so I decided it was only fair. But with that, Dan, completely almost untouched, is going to have to fight the majority of this Bactrian army. And it's going to be a tough one, because pikes mixed with the Rayo spears are going to be just guarding each point, as you can see here. And of course, down here as well. He has brought 4 pikes, 4 Thoreo spears, 3 Eastern javelins, 4 thorax swords, and of course a Bactrian Royal Guard general. The only thing he had up front was 4 thorax swords. He also just second winded that javelin, or battle rhythm that javelin men. It was needed. But and this is the other thing, is a passive defense is always worse than an active defense. And this is an example of this in a battle. And I'm glad to have actually been able to show it. What Egypt did was an active defense. He reacted, and he was able to put the screws to it, and basically almost killed me. But now we're going to look at a passive defense, and we're going to see what's going to happen with it. He's in a position that he cannot move from here. The second he moves, his boys are screwed. His pikemen lose their effectiveness the second they move. He doesn't have range. His range is very minimal. And a charge... Now, don't get me wrong, this is a very solid defense. These are pikes mixed in with Thoreo, so they can still volley out. As you can see, I'm trying to waste a few of their volleys with my ballista crew. I promise I never sacrifice men, so just join my army. I promise you have a 60% chance, 100% of the time, that I may sacrifice you. For the greater good. Because apparently I'm Tau. Just kidding. It's for the Emperor. God, I'm not a space commie weeb. Because they're both. With this, he's sticking out of range. I'm going to make a play to basically position archers up here. Or, well, and technically in this region. And guard it with my boy. Dan's going to take care of that tower for me. And since those javelins are still out of range, might as well prepare. If those Thoreos are going to start targeting me, that's fine. My boys never get sacrificed unless it's for the Glorious Emperor, and since I'm the Emperor, they're sacrificing themselves for me. Promise that's not blasphemy. Down with the Corpse Emperor. But right into the pikemen first. Nice rear shots. Mostly hitting the Thoreos. Hitting a few of the pikes, but hey. That's what's going to happen. But all we need is a break in one of these lines. Those pikemen are going. These guys are acting up, so I'm just going to start flipping them around. Meeting Cavalry Guard in that flank, because if something breaks through, they're going to be able to just blitz for a quick hit and back out. Those pikemen are already... Those Thoreo spears are down to 77, and those pikes are down to 138. As you can see, it wasn't doing very well for them to stack. But they've got to pull back, because the javelins are getting into position to deal with them. I'm trying to get into position to target. They're being weird. Noble Swords here. Weakened unit, but there'll be enough of a buffer to pull my archers back, because I can just sneak them around that way in the future. Archer's still being weird. There you go. Trying to sacrifice his men. Poor boys. Right now, these guys are able to volley. Right into the side to start softening up. But over here you can see it. The pikemen have a very little shielded now. We're going to do the same thing on this side. you can see, firing right into the back and the side. At this, Dan is going to start targeting those Eastern Javelins so he can move up with impunity. Pikeman starting to drop there. Of course, with that, Javelin men pretty much neutered. He's good to move off.
Make ready! We'll show these girls how warriors fight!
Down to 35 men, and they're still fresh. They're like, nah, we're fine, man. We can live this. You want to know it's a mix of the Encourage and the General buff. Because I'm pretty sure, I would need to get it checked, but I'm pretty sure Encourage and the General buff function off of two different systems for morale buffs. At this point, the unit's neutered. He could have stopped firing at it, but it's now Pride at this point. Yep, there it goes. Down to 13 men, so that's pretty much neutered. These spikes are down to 132. And he's back to firing at these pikes. I am terrified to see what's going to happen with these pikes. Into 125. Funny enough, nice, 69. He probably protected his boys. Oh, he was targeted on the Thraeus. He's going to have to retarget in a second. But he's going to try to push off those median cav, it looks like. Let's see how far he commits. This is why he doesn't have any forces to really commit to an attack. Dan can just pull the forces back and let these guys die. And sadly, Bactria is not able to do much. Pikeman down to 111. And now a Javelin volley. God, these Thorax have a lot of kills. No more ammunition. Volley. Hitting those pikes. Those pikes are down to 20 men. They're not going to be doing much. But now this is open. Pikeman down to 85 here. Thraeus down to 85. Well, those Javelins are going to get screwed. Quick hit and pull away. Just to harass. That Dacian is out of ammo. Time to move the next one into position. Interesting strategy what he's doing with his archers. Dan is moving them all over there. Because now we're able to push at all sides. Because he has to move, though he has a Bactrian Royal Guard, now he's got to move that really weakened pikeman back up. These guys have lost their fast reload because they were about to fire and then they decided they had to move because of the fast reload. There we go. Fire volley while running. It's nice that you can get them to do that every once in a while. As was perfectly intended, I'm sure. Now comes the fun part. Dan was able to get away without using many of his javelins. Well. It's going to be fun time soon. Pikeman moving on up here. And he's moving his Thraeus out. Sadly, that was the last volley. So this pike ends up staying alive, though they have 56 Thraeos and 50 pikemen. So there'll be blood soon.
Which one of you peasants did that?
Which one of you peasants did that? Just trying to sneak a little closer. I think he's trying to hit that. Oh no, he's aiming for the general.
Come on, you sons of whores! Come on, or crawl back home! To
Yeah, he's heavy shotting in. 154 kills. They can't really move out. Next volley. I'm down to 117. Bam. Those three Thraeos down to 37 and those pikes down to 27.
stop!
There we go. That Thraeos pushing up. And over here, basically just hitting them in an angle that they couldn't get their spears off. I don't know how long these noble swords will last. This getting right into the flank. They're breaking, those pikes broke, and now there's another gap. Which means they're screwed. The passive defense is broken. And to be honest, they don't have a way to keep themselves protected. Of course, 22 seconds left. There's not much left here that they can do. The archers are going to run on in to keep them in place. And with that, funnily enough, it wasn't actually Egypt who conceded first. It was Bactria who conceded first. And with that, the battle is over. So, the reason for this battle wasn't really, well, it was a show-off, a bit of dad and me. What teamwork can do, one. Two, the difference between an active and a passive defense. The fact that he just couldn't react to anything, and, well, you can see the results there. Egypt did far better. And to be perfectly honest, probably would have done better still if Bactria was able to actually maintain his side, so he could have fought me properly. With that, let's take a look at the army comps. I want your opinions on an active and passive defense. You obviously know mine. I've said it in a few videos, and now I've showed it off here. But I want to know what you think. Have you found uses for a passive defense, or is that what you prefer? Or do you tend to find a more dynamic defense to be better? I've always found the more dynamic defense to be better, just because you can react better. You're not reliant on the enemy to move certain ways, but it does work well with their certain choke points. But, as you can see with Bactria, it doesn't always work out. But with Gati here, with me, Noble Sword General, 230 kills. Spear Horseman, 168, 179. Archers, 158, 139, 150, 153. Poor axes. You don't deserve any praise. You don't get paid. 147, 341, and 214 for the last of the Noble Swords. Then down here, bringing us Lukid. 135, 178, 126, and 127 with those archers. All those guys are healthy, though. Silver Shields, 127. I'm pretty sure didn't lose a man. That's what it looks like. 282 there for those thorax. 202, 222, 178. Still incredibly healthy. Literally lost 322 men. Which is crazy to think about. Egypt here bring us Royal Thorax Swordsman General, 219. Archer-wise, sadly got killed by cavalry mostly. Thorax, 174, 213. Galatian Swords, 146. Thraeus, 128. And of course, last one here, Bactria. I mean, really nothing. What's the highest? The highest here is that Thorax Swords at 45 kills. One of the 4 forces that he did not have sitting passively. So, if you have a good battle of passive defense, I'd be more than happy to cover it. I just hate the fact that Bactria left his ally out in the lurch, and he couldn't react to any plays that we made, and allowed us to whittle him down. With that, though, we will end it for now. I mean, he was breaking the rules and everything. With that, see you next time. I need to pass up because I have a fever. Bye for now.